to add up the money, and you try to fill up the screen with as much money as possible. Well, the first free roll I got, it gave me a times 10. So whatever I had on there, it times it by 10. So it added all up to like $250. I was like,
Ooh,
it gave me 250.
to 250.
Yeah, it gave me 250. Well, then it did an insta win, so it gave me another 250. I'm like, okay. Then it did another one. Got me to
500 now.
Yeah. Then it gave me another one right after that. Went to 750. Well, these are all free. These are still free spins. These are still the free spins.
Oh, well, never mind. Stay.
Yeah, you got to get the money.
Hey, you know what you're doing better than me.
Then it got another instant win. What was that? 750. And I think at the end it gave me the whole. I think the grand total was 834, and I think like 16 cents or something like that.
What?
And I was like,
that's awesome, man.
I don't like going to I don't like going to the casino. I don't like risking my money. But every time I'm at the highest point, I cash out. I'm like, nope. Because I'm like,
there you go.
Because
that's a smart thing to do.
Everybody's like, oh, you could win some more, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's just gonna.
No, you could lose a lot more too. Just go in, the key with the casinos, you just go in there with a limit where you can have fun. But where if you lose it, it's okay. You had fun. Spent a couple hours playing game. Like you could have went to a movie or went out to dinner. Whatever, right? You chose to spend the money a little differently. I think where people get in trouble is where they don't set that limit beforehand, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of casinos, they'll serve you free drinks and things. They get them flowing, like you said. They're up, and then they just get big dollar signs in their eyes, and they're like, "Oh, I can win a lot more." Now it takes discipline to be able to walk away. So
I think it's that oxygen.
That's a smart thing to do. I remember you asked me, and I was like, I didn't want to be the one to say. It wasn't risking even that much. I think you said it was like $34.
Yeah, because
it's like that's where they get you started. And I was thinking, well, if you really want it once, but I don't want to be the one to tell you yes or no. Like you make the decision.
Well, see,
and I think you ended up going with no, which is probably the wise decision.
Because I asked you and Fidget and the Stunnies at the same time, and Fidget answered faster, and she said no. And I was like,
that's the smartest. See, I didn't want to be the one that just flat out says yes or no, but I was kind of trying to lean a little bit more towards that way. But
yeah, I was just trying to let you guys be part of my journey in the slots.
Right, which was fun. Had it been another free spin, obviously, sure, but
wow,
they start taking big chunks out.
Johnny Too Tiny says she has won 15,000 before, then walked away.
What?
That is awesome.
Congratulations. That is insane.
Yes. Did they make a big announcement when you won?
Was that on like a slot machine? You won like the jackpot, or
that would have to be the grand one, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think some kind of big old bells and whistles and things would be going off.
And that's the one reason why I'm not a big fan of the casinos, because when you win big, everybody knows.
Right, they want to draw attention. Well, they want to show everybody, hey, see, somebody does win,
Right.
Keep feeding them.
But it also shows them, well, look who I'm mugging later.
Right. Well, usually there's pretty good security, and I think
I know.
It's just take it in the form of a check. You don't have to take cash. I think, in fact, if you're winning that much, I think they try and encourage you to. I think there's limits anyway, because taxes and different things. I think they got to do different things on the higher. I'm not sure. I've never won that much.
So have you guys? We're all of the age now. I don't know if do they have casinos in Netherlands or not? Is it very popular there?
You have to have, I think the normal ones are just celebrated, just basic call it casino and stuff everywhere. But the online ones were already first on a lot of time banned because of gambling, like lots of kinds of gambling, especially online.
That's why I was wondering.
That's why also channel points. It's also why channel points are I cannot be part of predictions if I'm not using a VPN.
Right on.
It's still banned, even at channel points. But okay, let's continue with that. And next to that, we have something else I think is more popular in the Netherlands. It is betting on sports teams, because football is slash soccer is big in Europe. So that's why we rather want to actually just gamble, but do predictions on the football matches
Right.
or else choose who's gonna win, and then if you luck, he is lucky. And I'm gonna lie, if I would also be watching football if I would be if I would be gambling on teams. Otherwise, I would not watch it.
Yeah, I have friends in the UK, and they're really into that. You know, they're not only into the football, but they do. You know, they like to bet, and I can imagine. You know, I don't usually do it, but when I do bet on a team, it's like even if you're not a fan of the team, you are more into that game, of course.
Yeah,
You have something right, and so it does make it more interesting for sure.
I feel like I feel like I would go for one that like I already know who's gonna win, because like I don't think I.
You know what is the most painful part was someone won big. So football was rugby. It was in the World Cup. I think the last one before was Japan versus South Africa. South Africa, big rugby nation. Japan was a small one, and everyone was every South Africa is gonna win. It's gonna be a walkover. And everyone was putting money on South Africa. I think only one guy put his money on Japan. Guess what? Japan won.
Wow.
So really close, but still won. And he was immediately a rich man. So it can happen every time. To be honest.
Now I'm not 100% sure on this, but like, cause this is my group of friends. This is what we do just for fun. But like a lot of times, you just make familiar bets with each other as a friend, like, oh, I bet this, and then it's like, okay, on. Like, a lot of times it's just, oh, whoever wins, paying for dinner, or whatever, this or that.
Sure, just little friendly bets.
But, like, I can't remember or not, but, like, isn't it technically against the law to make bets like that? Or is it... Because, like, it's one of those things
Depends on the state.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem is going to be...
Depends on the state. As long as it's... So I think that, like, in our state, it's like... I want to say it has to be, like, a game of skill. I think if it is maybe just a game, like, something of chance, I think then there is... You might be right. Like, there's...
Okay.
Because,
like... Because I always wondered that, too. It's like, we always... Like, with friends, it's like you ain't going anywhere with it. It's not like... Because, like, you never bet...
I'll turn you in if I lose, darn it.
You never, like, bet your house or a car with your friends. We ain't living with that fancy of people, But, like, lately on Fridays, so I'm the guy that does the handoffs at my work. So, like, I tell them what happened for first shift, so that way they know, and vice versa, they tell us. Well, a lot of times they don't send us a handoff, so we don't know. So we just kind of do our job, because we're supposed to be self-efficient anyways. Yeet, thank you for those biddies. I appreciate that, bro. That is, yeet. Got 500 biddies up in here. Appreciate it. But like I was saying, we do a little bet on Fridays, which we started 2 weeks ago, on whether or not they leave a handoff or not. And all it is whoever wins, the loser has to buy them a drink from the vending machine. So it's like $1 bet, And I gotta say, I am 2-0. I have won both times. The first time, he gave me the choice first. He's like, "What do you say? They got a handoff or no handoff?" And most likely on a Friday, because it's the end of the week, they don't leave us a handoff. So I said, "Well, I'm gonna say they don't have a handoff," and it wasn't a handoff. Well, then last week, out of courtesy, we gave him the chance to vote first. And he's like, "Oh, there's obviously not going to be a handoff." And they left a handoff. So I won both times. I didn't. The second time, I just told him, I don't need a drink. Because I try to only drink one pop a night anyways. But let's see what we got.
Well, it's also going to change soon, right? Because there's a chance you're going to go 2 days.
Mm-hmm. That's a possibility, yes. They have offered me a day's job, and I did kind of put it on the tweets.
Oh, I seen that. I forgot. I was going to vote on it.
It's still got 7 days on the poll, so.
I meant to vote on that, and I think I got distracted. So now I'm going to go vote on that right now.
And on Monday, tomorrow, I will find out whether it was the job that I actually want or not. If it is the job that I want, it's a guarantee that I will be going to days. But if it's not, it's You know, it's like I'm
Are
gonna
you
kind
going
of.
with Twitter? So I can see what like one of them's way ahead on Twitter.
Yeah, one of them is on the way ahead. And see, this is the part that conflicts me, and I've talked to the Stonies a little bit about it, but it's gonna hinder my my streaming content because, like, yes, I'll be on better hours and I'll be more lively for my streams, like I am today. It'll be basically like this, you know, like I'm more awake. Whereas opposed to my Wednesday and Friday streams, you see me yawn a lot. You know, I'm not as talkative. So I think that's a good thing. But I'm also competing with all my friends streaming at the same time. So.
Yeah, just but yeah,
That's
that's the
streaming.
point.
But I
But
also
then
will be.
streaming, that's
There's no way around that. Believe
Right.
me, Roy and I, we we both went through the same thing. Like,
Sure.
there's no way like around it. Like, because especially us, we neither one of us ever wanted to stream on like days and times we're looking at it as like competing with other people. But at some point, you got to just kind of pick your spots that work for you
Yeah.
and go with it. Like,
And like.
I don't know.
The true friends will understand, they understand that, like, it's your life choices. You got to choose what works for you. You also want to be in the streaming content, and I appreciate that subscribe right there, Ginger Snitch. Good to see you in the stream, and someday hope to see you on here with us in this little late show that I do. So, like you mentioned it yourself, you and Roy have been friends for quite a while. Has it been before Twitch, or was it just during Twitch?
Oh, no, he's been on Twitch for a long time. So we met similar around the same time as, like, a lot of us. I think we all got introduced. I don't know if any of us remembers exactly. There's a trail. I'm sure a lot of it mostly came through the BCOT, which is the best community on Twitch, of course, which is Swain Games and a lot of his friends. And then, of course, there was Deekster, there was Retro Yimmy, there was Roy, and there was a lot of people. I think honestly, most of us just kind of met through that. Stony as well. I don't know exactly which streams there were. I remember seeing Stony in other streams, like in Stevo, the ball is Stevo. He was a streamer on Twitch for a while, like long before he was streaming. But then we all, we just all, I think, kind of ended up meeting, honestly, originally through the BCOT.
So it's one of those things where, like, you hear Roy McCracken, you think Dollar Bill. You hear Dollar Bill, you think Roy McCracken. Would you consider you guys like a duo there? Like, are you guys considered like best friends on Twitch, or how is
I
that?
don't know about best friend. I would say, Roy is just so good to so many people. So I think there's a lot of people that would call Roy a best friend. So,
True.
He's just one of those kind of people. And I would say you fall into that same kind of boat where the both of you, like the one reason you're literally thinking about deciding hours on your job and things based around streaming with other people. Like, that just, I would say Roy and I are similar in that way. It's not to knock anybody that's like not that way or things, but it's like, it's just one of those things that shows. And yeah, you guys are obviously just two really good people that obviously, care about your friends, care about the community, like more so than your actual stream and things. So.
Well, I appreciate that compliment, and
pretty cool. Yeah, you guys are two good guys to know. So as far as, I don't know, calling anybody best friends or anything, I think we're just all friends. I don't know if there's probably are some tandems, where you could call two people best friends, but more importantly, I think I'd rather just call all of everybody like a friend and a good friend.
And does it come to that point where, like, at a certain age, you feel like saying best friends is just not, it wears off, and it's just not really one of those things that you want to put in a categorize, or
depends on the person. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, for some people, everybody can be a best friend, which I think is fine. For some people, they truly just have that one best friend. But yeah, I think whatever people are comfortable with, kind of thing.
I know I grew
For me,
up.
I say the more the merrier. The more good friends you got,
Right.
you can't go wrong. True good friends, right? Because those true good friends are hard to come by.
Yeah, I was like, even in school, I was the kid that like I had a best friend, and then like he was the OG, but then I also had other best friends, and like people were like, I thought this kid's your best friend. I'm like, well, yeah, he's the first best friend I ever had. Of course, he's my best friend. But like, you know, like you get to a point where you have so many good moments with people that you like, I can't not put them in that category too.
For sure.
For me, I personally like I think the fact that like as a kid I was able to do something like that, it helped me out because like even when we graduated, you know, I have this group of high school friends that we still talk and we still get together every once in a while. I think we're. But and then you got Sorbise and I. We clicked instantly, and you know like I've met you and Stony and Dollar Bill was one of the first people I also knew too, and it was Frogman, and like I'd still to this day you guys are up there in the tier list. Even Ginger Snitch was around the beginning too.
Right, yeah, and a lot of I think he's similar. I think he was hanging around there in Swain games.
Yep.
As well, like before he started streaming,
Yeah, until now was it all Madden for you guys back then?
Yeah, pretty primarily. Yeah, that's what I remember. Swain games streaming a lot.
Right on. I feel like
Madden his sim league. I don't know if you've seen his sim league. He's toned it back a little bit. I think it was getting hard to do, but he had like a simulation league to get away from playing the game, where like he would take members from the community, and they would get put on a team. So you'd take like a division. So say like the NFC West. So so then there'd be 4 captains. You'd have Seahawks, Niners, etc. And then we'd have a draft. And you draft like people from the community, and then they'd actually put them on the Madden game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's like what I do with wrestling, kind of.
But yeah, there are people in this community that they put a lot of work into it and things. So
that's pretty cool.
I think that just added to it. Added to the community. A lot of people, so a lot of us got to know one another not only through the stream but through that. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Like I didn't even know that was possible. To be honest with you. Like
yeah, with Madden, you can like name all the players. It takes work, right? Like you got to be willing to put in the time to do it.
Right on. Yeah, I just it was brought to my attention that I have an array of different personalities on my friend list on Twitch, and one day somebody was like, you should really make a wrestling group because I think it would be cool, and so I started making it, and. So I feel like that's kind of the same thing as the football thing.
Pretty much, yeah, very, very similar, yeah. It's just a different instead of football, it's with wrestling.
Right. Yeah, I think
I've seen people do it with like the FIFA game. I think you can do the exact same things with FIFA.
Okay.
You can custom create like teams, and you can go in there and name the players, and like the number 1 draft picks or whatever, whoever you decide, right? They would get higher attributes than like the number 2 draft pick, and so on and so on.
Well, that's pretty cool. So, what made you and Roy decide to make the XHG?
Originally, we were gonna start it with a group. And it had a different name. It was pretty much just a group of us older guys, and then there were a few younger guys too. It ended up kind of falling by the wayside. There was like a really big Madden group at the time, OG Network. I think they're probably kind of still around. I think
they did do a conversion with XHG recently.
Bunch of cool, great guys in there. So things kind of they kind of fell apart, and there was never any hard feelings. We were all friends, going into it, and still all to this day all friends. But then we just kind of it just ended up not happening. And OG Network being like as big as they were and things, and and still are, like pretty much anybody that was in there, and or still is. It's like great group of people.
Sure.
But once that kind of fell apart, it was like, we just, okay, well, we'll just keep hanging out and streaming and things, and then, Roy and I kind of got to think it, and I think both of us kind of had briefly mentioned it, and then, it just got to the point where it's like, well, why don't we just start it? Like, let's just see who still wants to do it, and pretty much most of the people still did want to do it. And so we went back and forth, we had different names and things. And,
do you remember all the names?
I had all, I don't remember. There was some different ones, like, I think one Roy had liked was like, he liked the island of like misfit toys, so I think there was something like, I don't remember, it was like something with misfits. I don't know, like that's from, obviously from, what is that, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So, so he kind of like, it was just one of those things. So it's like, we were kind of looking at like ourselves.
So it was a completely different
these
name.
Misfits. And then I think I was the one, I came up with like I kind of liked having like some type of like where you could have just letters or something like really easily identifiable. And so I'd been in a gaming net, what was it, Exiled Gaming Network was one thing. So I just started putting some things together and just came up with like the Extreme Heroes Gaming. That was kind of cool. I thought it identified a lot of us. Like Roy was really into Batman. I like the Incredible Hulk. A lot of people, whether it's Spider-Man or different superheroes, almost everybody has like some type of superhero that they identify with.
That's true.
Reggie, he liked the Flash kind of thing.
Yeah.
So eventually we just kept going with it and kept putting it together and adding to it. And I've stepped back, of course, over the last year, and Roy's taken that time and just went like full throttle with it, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, it has grown to depths that I don't know if anybody expected it to the fact that, like you mentioned, OG Network is considered a big group, right? And they did a conversion with XHG actually last year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Like their people were wanting to come over here, and vice versa. Some of our people wanted to go over there, so they made it to where they're together. So I thought that was
which
cool.
was always kind of like I said from their very early days when it was like just a few of them and things. And like I said, there was people like within our groups, and it was one of those things. We never looked at it as competition. I know, pretty much all of them or most of them like never looked at it as competition.
No,
things, so.
it was just all about.
It was a good fit. Yeah, It was a good fit.
It's just all about recognition. Everybody wants to be recognized a little. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we do this. Is we want to get that community so we can show the love to more than one person.
For sure.
So I know we've focused on Dollar Bill here. Sir Beast is here as well. Sir Beast, do you have any questions that you have for Dollar Bill? I know you really wanted some Extreme Heroes Gaming personality to be on here, and first person I thought of was Dollar Bill.
Actually, put the same question what I have. What I found out how it started, how why the name and stuff. So it's really good answer for that. That's the point.
Right, because
I need to think about a good question.
Well, I know that
I'll come up later on it.
Sir Beast and I, Sir Beast came up with the clubhouse, but we decided to do it together, and it's kind of our same. I think we aspire to be up there with the XHG as well. And I love being part of the XHG. It has been a lot of fun. I don't know if you can see the symbol over there with Fidget. We did a little Sir Beast did an NWO font with the XHG, and he has us in a Clubhouse Pro Wrestling promo where we're all got NWO entrance with the black and white screening, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I like that logo. It's nice.
Yeah, and you can find it in the merch in the exclamation mark exclusive. We got like the baseball tee and the stocking hat, and I think a hoodie as well.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
I need me a hat too. That's one thing I was thinking. I was like, I need an XHG hat.
Yep. Yeah,
I
I think.
don't know why, because, sorry, I'm good.
Oh no, you're fine.
When I was, because it's Robert, also will be added to the Mike's Car universe, and also when I added to the group, because I don't know, I think when I was planning to do a second season of the Clubhouse Pro Wrestling, I thought let's put more involvement around Robert as with this group, and then eventually Stoney also got added, and Casio and Roy got also added to it. I thought, you know what, let me check out. And then one day, I was kind of just watching old wrestling, I was watching WCW Nitro, and I saw something without even thinking about, wait a damn minute, NWO got a lot of members, and the logo looks cool, and I thought, wait a damn minute, NWO, and looked at the logo. Actually, it's perfect, actually, for XG logo to put in there, so that's why the reason why it's to the NWO logo is too perfect because to put XG in it, so that's why I eventually came up with the idea to make that version of it.
Huh. I always thought
it was good.
It was just too close, like it was too perfect to not do it. That's was the point at the moment.
As soon as you had the idea and seen it, it was like it just lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
Right. I always thought it was a perfect timing too, because it was a great homage to Scott Hall, who passed away around the same time. And
Ramon.
Yes.
The bad guy.
I guess there's an Iowa event coming up where they're having a bunch of people. I guess there's gonna be it's gonna be a fun time, but they're having a bunch of people show up, and 2 WWE former wrestlers will be there, both NWO, Kevin Nash and X-Pac. So
okay, nice.
That'll be really cool to see. So you started XHG. Did you ever expect it to, it started off with, I think, just the original XHG brand. You had like the shirt you got on right now. It just got this was
like this one, and then the original. Oh, you guys in here will be able to see it.
Yes.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can show
it off.
Oh.
So that one.
It's like this shirt, but it's red.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I think this was the first color because Roy did all the graphics. Like he was really good at that stuff. He got a program. I think it's like a few dollars a month, or it's like so much per year. And he's gotten you see in the Google Drive all the different stuff he has. I'm pretty sure he's made every single one of those.
Yeah.
All through that same program, and it's one of those things where like almost on demand, like people in the group are like, oh, can you make it with these colors or these colors? I think with him, it's like once he has like the templates and things, changing the colors isn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's like a lot of creativity and a lot of work on his part, to do all that.
And
the original graphics.
I guess that's kind of the question I was going for. Did you ever expect there to be so much like different color, different themes? Everybody's using a different one. It's everyone's. You don't see anybody with like the exact same one. And so it's like
right. No, and that's cool. Yeah. No, I kind of had a feeling that people would have their own. I just never thought like XAG would be as big and there'd be as many people as there was. So.
I know I did one with Michelangelo, and then it was the XHG under it, and I've done the Sea Chickens one. It was a chicken with a football, the green comb, and then the blue feathers. So. I thought that was cool too. Roy made that one, and he made me a couple other chicken ones that were really cool, which I still use for a lot of promo events that I do. Because I'm not gonna get a PC for probably another year or two. I mean, waiting for bills to settle down. I don't want to.
Yeah, and prices are high. I mean,
right.
That's another thing right now. Things honestly. I would think at some point prices will settle down. You're seeing a slowdown. I mean, I deal a lot with business and things every day. So
I definitely have seen it.
A lot of the companies that make the chips and things that have slowed down, they're still having issues, but their sales have dropped big time. So I think you're going to start to see, supplies pick up, and you're going to see prices kind of stabilize. So it's probably better to wait anyway, honestly. For computer.
So, would you?
Or almost anything right now, honestly, because inflation's so high. It's not that prices are going to go down in the future. It's just that businesses are going to have this probably built up inventory over the next year. They already do, because from last Christmas, all the shipping issues, a lot of people didn't get their products until February, March, April, right? And so they're hanging on to it, hoping that people will buy it this Christmas. So, yeah, no, wait for a computer anyway.
Would you consider yourself a computer guy? Are you pretty tech savvy?
Not a computer, no, not tech savvy. I can run programs once I learn how to and things, accounting software, things like that. I'm pretty good running, different models and software like that. But no, as far as back end stuff, I've done very little. I've done some C++, programming, little bits of Java, stuff like that, but not very much.
I know Sir Beast is pretty well into the computers. Would that be correct, Sir Beast? You did a lot of research into them?
Yeah, but it's only not that. It's more for when I wanted to. I got a custom built PC. That's the only reason why I did it.
Right on.
So I was a quest a lot around, hey, what's the best thing for this? What's the best thing for that? And then I do with the limited knowledge I got. I thought, okay, let's just try to order one, and I got one. It runs well, and that's, I think it's already 3 years ago that I got it. No, 2 years ago?
And
2 years ago I got it, and it still runs. I think in the near future I still want to get the second one, maybe also another second one custom built. It's more based on gaming, so I can use this one for streaming and recording. The other one more for gaming, so that is a perfect dual PC combination.
Nice.
so, Sir Beast, behind you, if I'm not wrong, is that an Xbox mini fridge?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sweet.
I thought that Dollar Bill would like to see
I
that.
wanted to get it so much, so that's why it was. I think I even pre-ordered it when they released it.
You can see in the corner right here.
That is cool.
Only to I don't have it turned on. It's empty. But every time when it's hot or you want to get some good drinks, it needs to be cold. I always put them in there.
I thought Dollar Bill would enjoy that, being a former Xbox guy. So, Dollar Bill, were you always...
I'm sure it works a lot better than if you got a PlayStation one. The Xbox mini fridge is just gonna work so much better.
Tiger Jet.
Just kidding.
You really get a PlayStation router, I think. Yeah, I think get more router.
Don't go all Tiger Jet on me, anybody.
I would say Tiger Jet would love that comment.
I love both consoles. It was just a little jab.
Speaking of Tiger Jet, he is at the Saints-Buccaneers game. He actually went to it.
I was going to say, yeah, I figured. I didn't know he was actually at the game. I figured for sure that he's watching it. He's actually there?
Yeah, and
That's cool. And they're winning. It's 3-0. It's a boring defensive game, but it's one of those where you don't care because your team's winning.
Right, and you're actually there.
You wouldn't care if it was 2-0.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a lower football score. That's the only lower football score you can have. Literally,
you can't get an extra point without. It's I got the extra point, but I didn't get the touchdown.
Right.
You get all the way there, and you're like, "Can I get the extra point?" And they're like, "I guess you can take 1, not 3 points for a field goal."
Right.
But
no, that's cool. I didn't know they were actually there.
Yeah, yep.
I need to go to a football game someday.
So how many
So,
Seahawks?
Sir Beast, have you been to a live, what you would call football game or rugby? Professional?
Yeah, because it was a professional. I don't know. I think in 2000, so that's before. We also had an American football team, a professional one called Amsterdam Admirals, and because some of our people of the rugby club worked in the Amsterdam arena, got some free tickets, and I think at least 3 times I went there to watch a American football match there. And I think always it was kind of boring. What it was always we were not that good. I think we lost a lot so far as I know. So we also went away quickly. I think we lose this one. It's over. But really interested to watch the entrance, the players enter. like the whole showmanship especially in the Netherlands, we are more direct with sport. We don't have too much of a showmanship. Like when players come on, we really do here are the players. That's their stats. Now they're gonna play, and and then they show how good they are. But also really interesting to watch. So that's why I still want to have a Amsterdam Admirals jersey, just for nostalgic reason, because it was one of the few times we went there.
So,
Cool.
if I'm correct, isn't there now in the NFL they do one game? I don't know if they're going to do it every year, but they're doing one this year, I believe. That's going to be in England or London, one of the two.
I think it was 2 years ago, right?
They're doing a few. So this year they're doing like London, Germany, Mexico, and I think there's like one other place.
And
so
are they going to
really,
start doing that every year, or is
expand.
that just like every once in a while they're going to start doing that?
I think they're probably going to start trying to do it every year, would be my guess. They're trying, I mean, there's only one way to grow the NFL.
Right.
Like, it's about as big as it can be in the States, so they're trying to grow it internationally, where what the whole rest of the world calls football is the number one sport. And you look at all the money and how popular it is. So my guess is yes. I think it would be very hard to put a team over there, like have an actual NFL team, but I think they're wanting it to grow and get to where they have their own like pro leagues and things.
Sure.
And then, they just keep, trying to get it to grow. Like basketball's grown internationally in some places. Football's just been a lot slower. So yeah, my guess is they'll keep doing that every year.
Right on. So one of the oldest sports probably out there, I think we can all agree, is golf. Golf has been around for a long time, but if you have ever seen a golf on TV, it is still the same as it's ever been. I just wonder, or do you think they would ever start trying to like better the camera? Like, when are we gonna get the Happy Gilmore of golf? Like they amp up the crowd, get some fireworks up in that.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of tradition there, so it'd be hard. But I agree. I don't know. They should come up with something.
Podcasts I listen to, they're like, they should put body cams on the caddy.
Fans can have like air horns, maybe. Right when they're going to tee off.
Exactly. He actually
shanks it. It's just like,
they just mic up the players.
Right. Have some smack talk.
Yeah, smack talk
between them. That'd be cool.
Tiger Woods would probably be pretty good at that. It's one of those things where it's like they could do a little bit something. They could, like, I heard a podcast say they could at the very least put like a body, like one of those chest cams on the caddies, so you can see the swing at a better angle. Something like that.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of things they could do.
I don't know. Announcers could probably be a little more excited about the game.
They're probably bored just like everybody else.
So
yeah,
my brother,
it's just not. It's hard to speed that game up though. Like parts of it, it's just.
I need to make a new version of it. Like it's you need the team within 10 seconds.
Right, and that's what's happened is they have a different golf league now. It's called like LPS or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but that's what people are saying. Well, maybe it's because they're trying to make something different. Like they saw it with wrestling, they see it with all these other sports, and it's just like, I don't know.
Right.
It's just golf has been the same thing on TV for many years. I don't think there's a way you could improve NASCAR though. Like, it's already got everything. I think that's like the ideal like camera from every angle that you could possibly get. Next thing you know, you have drones racing with the with the cars at 200 miles an hour. So then you're not worried about wrecking into cars, but also worried about wrecking into the camera crew. Guys are trying to
see if the drones were going that fast.
Well, have you seen these new drones that are out now where the people are like standing on them and they're like almost like the Green Goblin?
Oh, those ones. But it's with water combined. And Will it
I've seen
push
the
down
ones
the
with
water?
water.
No. There's actual drone ones now, like with propellers.
I've seen certain ones where like it wasn't on 60 Minutes. I think they were showing one time. I seen like clips of they had like in the future what's going to be like air taxis and things like that. So basically, they're not intended to be like people necessarily own them, but you either pay to ride in one or you'd rent one to go like you fly it to like work, and then the thing would just fly to the next client. It would just remotely
just like the
pick
deliveries.
somebody else up, and then they would take it and go wherever they need to go. So,
now
they're getting more advanced with that stuff. But
they need to get better with GPS then, because how is this thing gonna know when all of a sudden the thing tells it to drive into a pond? Like.
Oh yeah, they're not going to be out anytime soon. There's a lot of things they got to work out.
Because I've had it where GPS is like turn right now, and I'm like I'm in the middle of a bridge. Like, what are you trying to say?
Go into like it's a dead end, and they're like go straight.
Like, I don't want to go that way. Takes you in the roughest neighborhood.
Guardrail that says dead end. Okay.
But yeah. So, I do think that's pretty cool. I did see one where a guy was sitting on, like, what looked like a bike, and they had, like, two big propellers, one on the front and one on the back, too. So I don't know if that's maybe the air taxi that you're talking about, that maybe it's a prototype version of it.
These were using, like, thrusters, so these were, like, almost like, kind of like, think of, like, a Harrier jet, where they're able to, like, they can vertically take off and land, but then they can also fly.
I just imagine how unsafe these things would be. Like, they'd almost have to be like a lawnmower where the top is completely covered. Because obviously you wouldn't want to be putting your foot
Oh, they
down.
are. These things you're fully enclosed in these, yeah. It wasn't like you're just riding. No, it was literally like a car, just like a flying car, basically is what they were.
That's pretty cool.
Just little single person flying cars.
Now we gotta look out for rocks for more than one reason. Like, used to be only lawnmowers were the propellers that you looked out for rocks with. But I will say I have, like, on the road with rocks, I tell you what, like, I'll be in the middle of the highway and a semi will have a rock stuck in its tracks of its tire, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it pops out, chips out my window.
Right.
And it happened twice to my truck now. It's like,
sucks.
yeah.
Trucks and their big tires holding big rocks in them.
Yeah. And
that happens to everybody, though. Like,
yeah.
Half the rock chips and windows or more are probably from semis.
Yep. But that noise that it
cars
makes
do
when
too,
it hits your
but-
window, it scares the crap out of you.
Oh, it does, yeah. Thank goodness those windows are pretty tough. They can take a really good impact.
So would you say you're mainly enthusiastic about NFL, or do you watch other sports mainly too?
I pretty much just watch football now. I used to watch a lot of basketball, but I would say at this point it's college and NFL football.
And you are a Trailblazer fan then?
I do, yeah. If they get to like the playoffs or things, or maybe key big games, I would say even probably as short as like 5-8 years ago, I watched a lot more Blazers. The games changed for me to where it's different. The sport I grew up. I mean, football's changed a lot too, but it's still there's enough of it there. But basketball's just changed a lot, where it's just a lot of like solo players and then like shooting and the game's just different. So I don't,
I know football has changed.
For me to watch it.
Not only has football changed like safety precautions, they're trying to save these people from getting injured so much, but they've also gotten so much. It changed through skill. Like, they have gotten so many talented people in like almost every team, it seems like, to the point that like when I was a kid, I feel like you only got like 1 or maybe 2 overtime games a year from all the teams collected, to where now it seems like it's more common for like every game to like go into overtime. I don't know. Do you remember it differently, or was it always kind of overtimey? Or
no, it seems like probably there is a lot more. I mean, the game's obviously a lot more fast paced. There's a lot more passing versus running. You know, when I grew up, I mean, I'm old, so I grew up. The game was I'm not that old, so it was like black and white, all running, but it was definitely
back in my day.
90s. There's a lot more running than there was.
Right.
Passing, and by a lot more I mean like you're talking like more 60-40 versus now 60-40 running versus now it's 60-40 passing being the higher.
I mean,
and then the rules all kind of protect the offense and the quarterback more. So and yeah, I mean I agree. I think there is probably more. Seems like more overtime games. But I think a lot of that has to do with like the rules changes too, just the emphasis on scoring in the league.
Do you feel like there's more talented people now, or do you feel like it's kind of gotten to where it's easier?
Sure. Yeah, the skill's definitely gotten better too. Yeah, players every position. Technology has a lot to do with that though too.
Sure.
So the way that they train these players, the way that they're able to rehabilitate. But there's so much science and tech. Oh my gosh!
Like in all sports, I feel like back then there wasn't that many.
Roy's going crazy. His Steelers just dropped the ball.
Oh God!
Sorry, Steelers fans.
I'm sure Roy's pulling out all of his hair. Oh wait.
Special teams fumble there. But no, I think technology's changed a lot. Where the players now just the way that they. Because you think, like, back in the day to review tape and things, all of those things, like how difficult it was. And now it's just all on the sideline. Players can have tablets where they're watching, plays from the current game. Like, they're dissecting that current game. Whereas back in the day, they'd have to go back in the film room and maybe they'd have a day or two to go over that film. Now they have, you have decades on the coaches and the players. Right. There's just so many resources there, and then the training equipment and things they have. So no, definitely the skill level of the players has grown immensely, and the physical talent level. Like there's more players that are faster, more players that are stronger. Players back in the day used to have smoking and drinking in the locker rooms and things, and now the players are a lot more conscious of their health.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. So, the game's changed a lot in a lot of ways.
I feel like now back then there was only a few like what you would call Michael Jordan people where they could like play more than one sport and they could do it at a good. But nowadays it's like it seems like to get hired and you almost have to be like multi-sport talented because there's a lot of good like quarterbacks that are also like either pitchers or some kind of baseball player.
Good baseball players, yeah.
Yeah. Like even like there's some wrestlers.
Or track stars, you got people that are, they have world-class track speed, but then they also play football.
Like you even got like wrestlers who are like really good at golf. Like, it's like, whoa.
That I didn't know. That I wouldn't see a correlation necessarily there. But...
I guess you have to like mellow out somewhere. Might as well take it out on the golf course.
And golf has grown in popularity for sure.
Yeah. And then, like, it's like, obviously a lot of the bigger football players, the bigger any sports people, you do see them when their contract, even with, like, UFC and stuff, you're seeing it now where people, like, when their contract expires and they're not ready for that intensity of sport, they have been moving over to pro wrestling.
Sure. Yeah, you can make as good of money, and there's still obviously a lot of risk and danger to injury there, but it's not
right. And they got like
it's not as violent, not as bad, so you have more of a choice in a lot of the stuff that you're doing. So yeah, no, that's smart. It makes sense. Like, I don't blame anyone for that.
Now, did you grow up with any kind of wrestling watching, or were you just kind of away from it?
Yeah. Oh no, I was a huge back in my days. We didn't call it WWE. We called it the WWF. It was the World Wrestling Federation. Okay, all you kids these days, it's the WWE. But the problem was, I remember too back then. I noticed that even when I was a kid, I think it was my aunt sent me a sticker, and it said WWF on it. Only it had a big old picture of a panda bear on it, and I got confused because I was this little kid, right? I'm like in probably first, second grade back then. And so I'm like, what's this WWF with a panda? Because I had another WWF sticker, right? And it had a big old picture of a wrestling belt on it. So I was like, what the heck is this? And so, of course, back then we didn't have computers. I couldn't go typing it up as a curious little kid on Google.
You just had to sit there and
I don't remember
wonder.
how I eventually found the answer, I think, but, I found out, that's the World Wildlife Foundation. And I guess technically they started first, so that's why the WWF had to change their name. There was there was all these lawsuits and things.
Yeah.
But no, I was a huge WWF fan, loved wrestling. I grew up in the days of Hulk Hogan. I watched the first couple of WrestleManias as like a big treat when I was a kid. What was it, WrestleMania 2 or 3 when Hulk Hogan fought Andre the Giant?
That's 3.
Like that was 3. I thought that was 3 because in 2, did Hogan fight like King Kong Bundy in 2? I want to say Hogan was in 2, and then he wasn't even in the first one. I mean, obviously that's getting old.
Hulk Hogan was in the first one, I believe, because the first one he was teamed with Mr. T.
Okay, that makes sense. It was a tag team, but he wasn't a solo. Like his popularity was growing from there.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember that first pay-per-view. I remember watching where he body slammed Andre the Giant.
Yeah, the slam that was the slam that was heard around the world is what they call it.
Right. So yeah, and all the wrestlers back then: Jake the Snake Roberts, the Junkyard Dog,
Sure.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Used to love all those guys.
So
I grew up with wrestling.
Ultimate
Warrior. He eventually came on and.
Right.
I was still a kid when the torch was kind of passed from Hogan to him.
That was my dad's favorite. Was Ultimate
Warrior. The big push was. Oh yeah, I mean all the kids like our age, like there was a shift. Everybody liked Hogan, and then everybody liked the Ultimate Warrior.
So.
And then as you get older, you learn like the business side of it, and like that's what's called like a push, and they're basically that's the design of it. It's like.
Yep.
So, no, but I loved wrestling. Even went to a couple of shows here locally. Had when I was in 6th grade, I think it was, went to a show where the Bushwhackers. I don't know if anybody remembers them. They actually licked my friend and mine arm. Obviously, in the post-COVID days, you wouldn't have a wrestler. That'd be their gimmick. But they would lick people's faces and things, and we stuck our arms out, and one of them like licked our arms.
That's crazy.
So
yeah, they were always licking each other's heads too, weren't they?
Right. Yeah.
Their bald heads.
that was their.
And they always walked like this.
Gimmick. Right. Yeah.
They fight. They usually fought like Earthquake and Typhoon.
Right, the big guys.
Yeah.
I don't remember who they fought in that match. I just that stuck out.
The only reason I'm familiar with them is because they brought them back to the WWE, like the video games. And did they? They did a little thing with them on there with Earthquake and Typhoon.
And you'd have to look them up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and Earthquake and Typhoon. Those guys used to have other like Avalanche. They used to have different names too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kept, which is common again in the business. They'll keep trying different names and things.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with Kane, but I believe one of his first gimmicks, he was a dentist.
Like, dentist,
and then another one he was the replacement for Diesel when he went to WCW. They tried to keep his character, and they had Kane do it. Well, then they're like,
they figured big, huge guy. People won't,
They just
he looks close enough.
Right, they're just like, we could sell tickets, whatever. TV graphics aren't that great. Maybe people won't notice. People with small TVs might still think it's Kevin Nash.
It's him,
problem is
that's cool. I used to like WCW when I was a kid too. Of course they had like Ric Flair and Sting, so it wasn't even just I would say I was more into WWF when I was a kid, but WCW was really cool.
So Ric Flair
and the Road Warriors. Road Warriors were, probably my favorite tag team.
In the WWE, Ric Flair had his final match, which was against Shawn Michaels. It's a very iconic moment. But he spoke out and said he never wanted that to be his last match. So this year he did do a last match. Still at his age.
Wait, Ric Flair?
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
It should have just kept another one. The last one.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Who did he wrestle this year?
It was Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett with Andrade El Idolo.
Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
And like the son-in-law.
He originally wanted Ricky to come out of retirement and do a last match with him, but Ricky said, "Yeah, there's no amount of money in the world that's gonna make me come back because
Who?
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat."
Oh, he wanted Steamboat. Oh wow.
He's like, "I'm at that age. I'm not."
Yeah.
He was smart enough to just it's the end for me, no wrestling, and still Ric Flair wanted to go, and those were really bad.
The one thing that I will say nice, because they did get Vince McMahon out of commission for the WWE now, so it is under Triple H.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of that has to do with his health and things, right? Like, he's just at that point where he just can't do it anymore, right?
More it had to do with some controversial stuff.
Oh, that too.
Oh, yeah, and also the Plane Ride of Hell.
There's always controversies, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was controversies, but it doesn't surprise me. He's been a pretty controversial character his entire life.
Right.
So.
I guess there was 4 women that he paid $12 million to keep shushed about inappropriate activities.
Oh, okay. We talked about the Vince McMahon, actually. I thought it was Ric Flair. Because he also got controversial because of the Plane Ride of Hell episode of...
Yeah, I seen that, yeah. I never knew about that.
Yeah.
I also never knew about it. Okay, damn. Well, apparently...
That's the main reason.
Well, back then technology was different, so it was easier to keep stuff like that quiet. So. But yeah, that was, if all that stuff's true, it wasn't just Ric Flair, it was... like, who else was on that plane? Like Mr. Perfect.
Actually, no one got later the backlash of it, except Tommy Dreamer, because he was defending Ric
Scott
Flair.
Hall. Scott Hall and Mr. Perfect, they both got fired after that.
Yeah, but Scott Hall was also in a really bad position. The same with
right, he was already in trouble at that point.
Same with Goldust. He had also drinking problems and.
Well, all wrestlers had drinking and.
That's how bad actually the mental life was.
The business was different. Hell, Andre the Giant, they said, Ric Flair said he drank like 120 beers one night.
Yeah.
And there's stories of Andre the Giant's drinking. Like, so I mean, I think that was just always part of the business.
But I think for him it was kind of painkiller. That's the point.
Right back then.
That is because those guys every single night, those guys, and sometimes twice a night, those guys are beating the hell out of each other.
Right, and they were on the road
they're not literally beating the hell out of each other, but in order to make it look as real as possible, they're beating the hell out of each other.
And there's still a lot of energy.
With Andre the Giant, he also had, I think, that because he was a big guy, he also got like the growth problems. But at the time, they had no solution for it. When Big Show was part of WWF, there was more in the modern day, so they could deal with it more professionally, or not professionally. They had more research and things about it, and they could help Big Show.
Andre the Giant was in a world of his own. He was truly he truly was the eighth wonder. Like, as far if you go, you'd have to go back to even before I was watching wrestling. But he, like, that man in his prime, you look at the toughest, baddest wrestlers back in the day, they all said that is not somebody you want to make angry. The only time Andre the Giant ever lost in the ring was if he decided he wanted to lose. Now, when he got older, you're right, those physical things, because he had that gigantism.
He had to get a golf cart to bring him.
He was just truly, that man was so big and so strong and so much bigger and stronger than everyone else.
Yeah.
That it was,
My dad saw him when he was at an older age, and he said, they had to take him to the ring in a golf cart just to get to the ring,
Yeah, because his body had completely broke, his knees, his back, everything had completely broken down.
So, I know Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just watched something recently. He had spoken about Andre the Giant, And he said, you know, one time we met each other, and then we said, let's go get some dinner. And I guess the whole argument was like, who was paying for the dinner or whatnot. And Arnold Schwarzenegger said he literally picked me up and he put me on top of something, and he picked me up like I was a doll, like literally like I was like a little stuffed toy. And he's like, and from that moment on, I was like, man, this guy is tough.
Right, yeah, there's stories where, like, some of them you don't know, like, if they're just legend, like,
Right.
you know, where, you know, tall tales they've grown, but there's so many of them about Andre the Giant where even if just some of them are true, it's like, yeah, I mean, the guy, you know, he's just a legend.
I've also heard about
they'll
his...
They'll never be Andre the Giant.
Yeah, I've also heard about the 120 beer can one before, too. There's a lot of special features on some of these old wrestling things where the people will talk about it.
Talk about it in his drink. Some of it's his drinking because he was so depressed, and I can only imagine because he didn't have anywhere to hide. Most wrestlers can hide. Celebrities can shield their identity. When you're over 7 feet tall and you're like the biggest person in the world, there's nowhere to hide when you're out in public.
Now, this is a little bit of a darker subject, but back in the day, there was a wrestler who, performance-wise, easily could have been in the top 5. But because of certain things that he did, he will forever be erased from WWE. And I watched a video recently because there's always been controversy about this guy, and I'll say his name. I don't know if Dollar Bill, if you were still watching when he was around, but his name was Chris Benoit.
I remember, yeah. He was towards the end, because I want to say he was probably like later 90s.
Yeah.
I want to say, so I stopped watching wrestling, I would say probably somewhere in the early-ish 90s. Like, I still knew the wrestlers that were there, but like, yeah, by the time Triple H and all those guys came around, I know who the wrestlers are, but I wasn't watching it.
There's always been
I know the name.
Right. There's always been a span of people that are like, why can't he get the respect as a wrestler to be recognized through this talent? And, you know, I was always in the middle. I didn't know. I thought he was a good wrestler, but the things that he did was so unspeakable that I didn't really know if he should ever really come back. I know they say CTE was an issue with him. He had a finisher move where he dove and his head was the only thing that hit the person off the top rope. So he had multiple concussions. You know, when they scanned his brain, there was black spots everywhere after he passed away. But
I'm sure there's a lot of research on that stuff, like between you know, suicides and things like that with the brain.
I don't know if you know exactly what happened with him, but
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, like you said, that's like if it's the one I'm thinking of, that's about as like you know, dark as you can get. So I don't think that WWF or E would ever. They just would never go down that road.
No. Well, I see. Like I was saying, I never expected this conversation to come up anytime in the future. But I just saw a press conference where, because there's still a lot of people that miss him and think he should get recognition. I saw this video of Paul Heyman at a conference talking to people. And Paul Heyman, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He used to run ECW. He's always been under like the Dudley Boys and stuff like that.
I can kind of picture him. He was one of those like kind of manager kind of people, right?
And he's always been the guy that can cut the best promo. He could sell water to the desert, you know. Like he's just that good. Like
I don't know. You remember? So he's kind of like the mouth of the South, Jimmy the Heart. You remember him? Like back in the day. So kind of like you know, he was one of those guys that like you know he was really good. Or Bobby Heenan was really good. He ran with Andre the Giant for a while, but yes, I kind of.
But this guy stood up in the middle of his conference and said, "What about Chris Benoit? He deserves respect." And I'll tell you what, the promo that I heard from him was, he's like, I don't give a crap about CTE. Okay, I don't care what happened to him. He had a choice on what to do with his life. He decided to take his wife and his kid out. They did not have a choice, you know. with him.
Sure.
And
that's why, like, yeah, exactly. They'll never. I don't think he'd ever.
and
be
this is coming
honored.
from a guy that actually knew them. He said their names specifically, you know, like the wife and the
Sure.
kid. And he's like, you know, they'll never have that choice. And he's like, for that, he's like, I performer-wise, yes, I put him up there in the top 5, no doubt. But forever, because of that, he will be forever erased. And he's like, and if you think that he deserves to be on there, and he just straight up, he's like, then fuck you.
Right.
So
I think that's how most people, you know, would feel.
I watched the documentary.
Had he just taken his own life, it would have been
Completely
different. He
different,
would
yes.
have been honored. He would have been held in a different light. It would have been like Junior Seau, because things have happened like that with football players.
Right.
You know, right? So, you know, Junior Seau, same thing, CTE, you know, he ended up taking his own life. And
Now,
so, yeah, it is something that needs to be studied. It needs to be, you know, certainly looked at. They need to continue to find better ways to protect these athletes and things, and they need to be aware because of that, because we know both sides. Like,
did you ever
apparently
watch?
those injuries? Those injuries can be so bad that the person can either take their own life or they can take other people's lives around
Right.
them. So I think it's not something that you know, it's important to talk about, because if you don't talk about it, then you're not going to recognize how to help, you know, family members or those people in those situations. But at the same time, it's like, it's understandable why it's like, okay, you can't ever honor Chris Benoit, but you can honor, you know, Junior Seau,
Right.
because it's, you know, they're just too.
Now, did you ever see the movie Concussion when it came out?
I don't. Is that the one with? I'm trying. The one with Will Smith.
It is the one with Will Smith. It
where
was.
I still have yet to see that. I've heard it's a really good movie.
It is about
I know,
the
like, the
NFL.
story about it, and I know it's like based on a true story and the doctor and everything behind it. So I know the story, but I haven't actually seen the movie.
I think it's interesting that they learned more about concussions through the NFL. You know, like,
Right.
because that's the most head-to-head action that they have, and so
And there's a lot of football starting at a young age all the way up, and so
Right.
they have a lot of data.
and
now
I
they have the chips and things that they can put in the helmets, and so they actually can register.
yeah, and I just think it's interesting how much the sport's changed just for that sake. You know, like.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I saw a video recent. Did you see the Steelers Bengals game last week?
Parts of it.
Okay, because you did mention
That was a crazy game. That was a crazy game for sure.
you did mention special teams earlier, and you made some kind of joke about like how special teams.
Oh, the Steelers dropped the ball and
Yeah.
gave it to New England on special teams because they muffed a kick.
I think that was the most special teams like mishaps in that game last week that I've ever seen in any football game. So many times they came close to getting a field goal and both teams didn't make it.
And overlook special teams. You know, sometimes people like to knock it, but any coach will tell you there's 3 phases of the game. You know, there's offense, defense, and there's special teams.
Mm-hmm.
You muff a kick, you miss a field goal. That's just as costly as throwing an interception or
Right.
getting beat for a touchdown. Like, those mistakes are just as big.
I think they brush it off too easily. Like when they're like, "Oh, well, we just missed that." I'm like, "You don't realize you just cost yourself the game." Like I'm saying that in the first. I'm saying that in the first quarter. You know, like that right there is going to come back to cost you. Even I know that.
Right.
This game's going to come into overtime, and I'm going to be like, "Remember that kick?" But yeah, so that game really had a lot of that going on. I don't know. I just.
But I was surprised the Steelers, I mean, through it all, they pulled out the win. I mean,
I
both
know.
teams. I mean, Joe Burrow threw 4 interceptions in that game, which kind of didn't get talked about a lot. I mean, he'll bounce back, I think, obviously. But, man, that was they talked about the Rams and how bad they played coming off, a Super Bowl. It's like, Cincinnati didn't look good either. So,
No.
Again, you can't take too much into week 1,
No.
I think at the end of the day, Denver's a better team than Seattle. The stats showed it. Like, Seattle still came out with a win. The 49ers lost to the Bears. Again, it's week 1. Things are going to happen. I think at the end of the year, a lot of teams that have lost will wind up with better records than the teams they lost to.
Did you see the part where?
Yeah, mistakes. And I think part of that too, though, is the way that they do the preseason now. So the preseason used to be 4 games.
Yep.
In the preseason, players used to actually hit one another. They used to have contact drills.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much money and too much risk in the game, and I think you see that. You see week 1, week 2, a lot of teams there's sloppiness, offensively, defensively, special teams. It's sloppy. They start getting into it by week 3, by week 4, they get into the flow. But yeah, I think a lot of that's just these games are the first time these guys are actually throwing on pads and going full speed for more than a few plays.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the times for like some teams, like I know the Cowboys was one that was really bad at the time, but like during the preseason, all their starters would go in for the preseason games every once in a while, and they would all be getting like torn ACLs and stuff like that, and it's just like, well, there goes your team. Like,
or even in practice, right? I remember, Teddy Bridgewater years ago, the Vikings, star quarterback, and he got injured in practice. It was on a non-contact drill, I think. It was like nobody even touched him.
He did it to
himself. He was out there going full speed. It's like, oh my god, we can't have guys out here going full speed. It's like, well, if they don't ever go full speed, how are they going to perform at their best? So that's a tough trade-off.
But yeah, I think it's interesting how they've changed the game. Did you happen to see the part where Burrow tried to size up with T.J. Watt in the?
I didn't. No.
There was a part where he threw the ball, and it became an interception right at the red zone. And T.J. Watt's like right next to him, and he's like, "I just gotta wait because you're not allowed to. I guess you're not allowed to hit the quarterback unless he starts making a defensive move, So like,
right, you can't just you're not allowed to just like tee off on him or something. Yeah.
So I guess Burrow made the mistake of like even like jumping like he was gonna go towards him. He just grabbed him by the pads and was like, "Look, you're part of mine." Well, then he pushed back and he's like, T.J. Watt. He was on a podcast this week and he talked about it. And he's like, I was not about to be shown up by a quarterback, so I grabbed him as hard as I could and I slammed him to the ground.
Yeah, TJ's a tough guy. He ended up getting hurt. I'm not a big TJ Watt fan. I say he plays the game hard and tough, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm pissed more at my Seahawks last year. So I don't know if you watched the game last year with the Seahawks and Steelers, and of course Seahawks and Steelers got history, those two teams.
Mm-hmm.
But in this game, and part of this is on Pete Carroll. Steelers are a tough team. They've always been a tough team. That's part of their identity, Steel Curtain and that defense and things. And T.J. Watt certainly is a tough, good defender. But he has this thing where he likes to peanut punch at the ball.
Sure.
Well, he'll peanut punch whatever is there, whether it's the ball or not. And I don't care whether he admits it or not. There's times where he's just loading up and punching as hard as he can, and he has no intention of going for the ball. He's just trying to hit players underneath the pads in the stomach and the sternum. There's shots of him continuously punching up underneath the face mask of guys, completely missing the football and uppercutting them in the face. And it's one of those things where as a team, you got to toughen up. If a guy's doing that to you, you start doing that back to them. Right. Start punching the holy shit out of the Steelers, doing everything you can. Hold them up. Don't tackle them. Start punching them. Like I said, it wasn't to the point to where it was like dirty and it was fighting and it was scrumming things. I think there was a lot of legitimate going for the ball, but there's a lot of hitting underneath the face, hitting into the neck, hitting.
Coming more like hockey.
There was our running back after that game ended up having like a couple cracked ribs, I think it was, and a bruised sternum, and things. And again, a lot of that just goes like, okay, the guy's doing that, you got to get on him. So T.J. Watt certainly is a tough guy. He goes out there and plays that way, and you got to match toughness with toughness.
For sure.
But yeah, he ended up later in that game. He got hurt. He ended up stretching out, doing something, and yeah, he goes 100%. And if you're gonna play the Steelers and T.J. Watt, you got to go 100% back. And
right.
If a team's gonna dish it back. Especially if the refs are allowing it, that's the key. It's like, look, the only thing you can do as a team. Well, I blame the coach. Pete Carroll should have had the defense out there, just punching the holy crap out of all of them.
I honestly saw
to touch the ball.
I saw the play where he got hurt, and it was like he got a flag on the same play too. because he
I didn't see that.
yeah, he was holding up the lineman and he like literally grabbed at his helmet and pushed it off the guy's head.
Sure, and and a lot of players do that. He's not the only one.
Right.
He's, you know.
And like he got a flag for it because it looked literally like he just grabbed the face mask and just ripped it off the guy's helmet.
Right, and guys will do that.
And I didn't know that he got.
They used to slap helmets. You know, I can't even imagine wearing that helmet and getting like slapped in the ears.
So I used to be in wrestling, like amateur wrestling, like the Greco-Roman wrestling, you know. And we have those little earmuffs on, you know, right? And
right, to protect the ears from like cauliflower ear and things.
Right,
yeah.
but your coaches would come up and slap you in the ears to get you riled up.
Yeah,
I remember one time I was in a match. And it was the first and one of the few times that my mom actually came to one of my matches. And so I was like so hyped that she came. I was like, this guy's going down. I got to do this, show my mom what I've been training for, you know. I'm not kidding you. I went out there, took the guy, arm swinged him, pinned him. That fast. It was literally that fast. I pulled a Miz. I literally went like this and I pointed to my mom. And I turn around, because you're supposed to be humble in this sport, okay? You're supposed to respect your people.
Sure, yeah.
But
it's
I
not
was
like
just
pro wrestling. You're treated like pro wrestling there.
And I turn around, my head coach is right there, and he slapped me across the face. And everybody, my mom was like, whoa, what just happened? I'm like, no, I deserve that.
Right. Modern day, he'd be in jail. Back then, that was okay. You know, I had a story one time where our 7th grade teacher, one of my buddies was mouthing off, and he picked him up by his underpants. He gave him a wedgie, literally picked him up, had him picked up by one hand on his underpants, and he's like, "I told you to, you know," because there were girls out there, and he was using, you know, all kinds of profanity and things, and he's like, "You get in the showers, don't do that again." And same kind of thing. It's like, you do that in this day and age, you're gonna go to jail. But back in the day, it's like, hey, it worked. You probably respected your opponents from there on out. Anytime you won, you probably like shook their hand.
That's probably why I'm so like nice about it nowadays. You know, like
good match.
You know, it's just.
How about you, Sir Beast? You look like a wrestler. Did you used to wrestle back in the day?
I think you're muted, buddy.
Only played rugby.
Only played rugby.
Yeah, and I tried some other sports. Was not tried track and field. I tried some. What's the more? I tried some soccer.
Is it?
And eventually, it was nothing for me, so I went back.
Is it shot put?
I can see you playing rugby. You look like you're built for rugby for sure.
My coach was kind of an ex-military. Dutch military then, and he's also been tough, a lot of tough, but also he's not really physical tough, but mental tough. Like he come in the mix, like we have a tough workout. I said, okay, this can be the last one. Last one set. After that, said, no, another one. We're gonna do another one. And then oh my god, when it's tough, and then you can repeat for 3 more times. But also sometimes we have a tough one, right? And I said, oh, we're gonna do this for 1 minute. Says nothing. 5 minutes comes by. Like, look, guys, you did this 5 minutes, and now you can hold it on. So, like, it's a lot of mental stuff that the timer does. It's really annoying. It's not fun. It's really annoying. But it is made us tough and also better, stronger for annoying matches like some rugby teams that play we play out to them and they play at home. They have also a lot of what can I say? Not that nice clubmates / fans of their team. Sometimes heckling us, and some of them are literally just our linesmen because we're not a professional. So it's literally some of their own club or linesmen or one of our own team. So always stealing extra meters towards or more yards for you guys. Yards to help the own team. Just a lot of mental things, and that's why also the trainer did. And we got also some weird traditions that actually now it's not even acceptable anymore, but we still got the weird traditions. Like one is pretty, how can I say, okay, not profanity, but really, not much. And when you knew at the club, you score your first try, so you scored for the first time, your balls goes into the beer. So I have a whole song for it, and then your balls goes into the beer, and then you drink the beer all in a shot. So that's already something that also actually nowadays would not be accepted, but it is a fun tradition.
That's cool.
I do want to say thank you for the subscribe, Loka. I did not see it. My chat was frozen the whole time. I just thought nothing was going on, to be honest with you. Thank you for the subscription. Thank God we got Fidget here who's keeping track of chat. I appreciate that, Fidget.
Of course.
Yay, Fidget, thank you.
I think, my chat also been frozen, I think.
Yeah. Sir B, so were you a shot put guy? You look like you were a shot put guy with the disc. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's the most annoying part, right? I was young enough to just try everything out, and then the radio said, "Yeah, you're gonna be a good shot put. You're gonna be good at shot put." And already no. I want to just try also sprinting, other stuff. I want to just try and become all around, just make myself better and other stuff. So that's also the reason why I think I'm gonna quit.
I always would have liked that javelin, throwing the javelin.
Yeah.
That would have seemed cool, you know.
I always think of the.
Well, that's why I really hated about it. Already, I think within the first year I was there, I think I was only there for a year. Already just say, "Oh, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that." No. Let me just figure out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm on the time I was already big and strong, but don't say, "Hey, can be only for shot put," or yeah.
So I think
That's also why I like the sport of rugby now, because big and strong of everything. Also, to be fast and also have condition. Could be condition, so that's why I like it more. It's not only one thing.
right.
So that's why I like it a lot.
It
Right,
is
yeah.
interesting.
If you'd have been over here in America, they would have had you be like an offensive or a defensive lineman, I bet. Or like
and I would be also already bored then.
wrestling like that. Yeah, they've been like, "Hey, you're big and strong. You're gonna be able to tackle this guy and throw him to the ground."
Yeah, that's what I mean. Already. Like it's only
You'd
one
have been
thing.
like, "I want to be the running back," or something. You know?
You're the slow quarterback, but I can become faster. No, you're still the slow. Then I think, okay, and why would I even try to even just make more sense out of it? And also other sports though, because at soccer I was the keeper, and I wanted to,
goalkeeper.
and I want to
actually kind of
be.
liked it.
I like it too, though, but I also want to be more precision to if something happens.
It gets boring. There's some games where, I was just back there picking grass. Like, it was like...
Just literally just
which is good, right? That means that our team was winning, but, man, it was... Yeah, it's like, "Hey, coach, we're up like 3-0. Let's stick the bad goalie in the box and let me go do something else."
Yeah, like that. Or you're gonna play defense. Okay, great. I'm not good at defense, but okay. Because not a good at defense, it's annoying to play defense because it's almost the same position. But then if you a couple of guys put him in midfielder, okay, that's nice. You got more action to go with defense. You're gonna go because my base as sport will always rugby. So in other words, you're always busy in that sport. You also need to do the next thing, help your team out, defending, attacking, do two things at the same time. And especially in sports like soccer, it's already like your midfield. If you defense, you own the defense. If you're attacker, you also attack, but you rarely go back to defense. And that's also something that I thought to myself, yeah, I would rather be a midfield then, so I can be everywhere next to a goalie.
Right.
It's really nice.
So before we go over to Dollar Bill, I figure we'll take it over to Fidget. Fidget, have you ever been in any sports?
Yeah, as a kid, used to play soccer.
You used to play soccer? Oh.
Yep, played for a handful of years. The main positions that I would play were either, trying to remember the names, halfback or fullback. So I was either helping protect the goalie or defending midfield.
Oh, okay.
And there was one time the coach, I swear to God, the coach must have been like on crack or something, put me as goalie, and I'm like, mind you,
her doctor is recommending she try these foods, and see how deep it is. So she had to try lobster, she had to try crab, all this stuff.
Oh, such a hardship.
Right? It's like, oh, dang it, this sucks. Next will be having me try steak and stuff like that.
Right.
Filet mignon, ugh. So tender and juicy.
Right. But I did have a unique experience there because our waiter, although he was, he was perfectly fine. Like, he got us our food, this and that. Every time he finished, okay, this is literally how he talked. Okay, if I was about to talk about something, he always ended the last syllable with elongating it. So he'd be like, "How are we doing?"
Oh no, that was
Every
Are
word.
you sure about that?
Yeah.
Are you okay? I'm jump out the window if
And
someone talks to me like that.
So my stepdad with the card, he's like, Alan Serwinski, or like, I got Bloody Mary. He's like, I need to check your ID.
Like, no, there's just one Y on the end. There's not 10.
And then like he would, right? And then he like when he brought the food, every time he put it down, he'd be like, "You're welcome." Before anybody could even say anything, "You're welcome."
I want to just jump out the window then.
And I'm like, we didn't have a problem with him. We were like, he's just very robotic.
That's robotic.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm glad that I wasn't there with you because I probably would not have been able to keep a straight face. Like every time he would walk by, I would like be laughing, and it's like I'm not trying to be rude.
I know,
but
and
the way
again, he was like,
funny.
Can I get a little more water?
I was so tempted.
I probably be just doing it back. Like,
yeah, and I was so tempted when we left to be. I was so tempted when we left to be like, "Thank you for your service."
Like, on the end of my chair.
But
just have everybody at the table just start doing it. Like.
And like I said, he was the nicest guy ever. Just never seen that before.
Right, and subconsciously, he probably doesn't even realize he's doing it. It's probably one of those.
Or he does know
like,
he does
doing
it.
That much, it's just probably part of his normal speech.
Right. And so I always thought that was interesting. I didn't know if you guys have ever had an experience like that where somebody was.
I don't know. We had her do magic tricks once. That was pretty cool. I think that was just part of like his job, though.
Oh, really?
He was supposed to entertain the people as well.
You're not the way that you're an entertainer.
Right?
Are you not entertained?
It doesn't matter if they want to get sick. I want to know for sure that they're going to do a card trick for them.
And it's like, you're going to make something disappear, make the bill disappear.
Right.
That's a magic trick.
Then maybe we'll give you a tip.
Here, I got one for you. Here was your tip, and no, there it goes.
But yeah.
Go get me more rolls, please.
I will say I was part of improv in school too, and I was in the plays and stuff. And so like at my school, you would work the concession stands during sports games to raise money for whatever club you were in. And so me and my best friend, we were part of the improv group, and we had to do for speech and stuff like that. We had to drama club. We had to work the concession stands. When the drama people were in the concession stands, it was the most exciting because we would be trying to perform as much as we could while we were in the concession stand to keep alive. So we have my buddy juggling candy and drinks and all this, and we were trying different accents with customers, just trying to crack them up. And you're on the other side, so you pretend like you're rowing a boat or going down to check storage. If they're like, "Oh, you need some chips? Here, let me go down the stairs," and stuff like that. You're just trying to constantly entertain them. I do remember one time my buddy, he was like trying to pretend like he was being fumbly with like a Bosco stick or something, and then he did drop it, and then there was like awkward silence, and we're like, "We'll get you another one." And there's a lot of times where we would put like they don't know this, but we'd put like something on the ground because they can't see it from where we were, and we would drop something that we really wanted, and we'd be like, "We'll get you another one," and then me and him would be eating it later.
Smart. That's smart.
So.
Just outplayed them.
the other question I was gonna say was, okay, so me and have you guys ever been into like a really good like series of movies like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, stuff like that? Is there anything that really got you guys?
I have more with series now because I got Disney Plus. So
Sure.
I started watching the second season of Mandalorian. Then I jumped over to Book of Boba Fett.
Sure.
And I think then I started a bit of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but because I always fell asleep, then I'm kind of okay. I'm gonna continue watching that when I'm not because of boredom, because I was watching late. Then I started watching. Now I started watching Moon Knight, but also next to that I also like to keep up with anime and other. I think more nostalgic series because I also watched multiple times Avatar: The Last Airbender of the season. Actually, outside of just a normal TV reruns, it is only has been 2 times, but including total 5 times because I always like to watch reruns.
Man.
TV then.
What about you, Dollar Bill? Is there any like series of either show or movie?
Like in the actual theaters or just in general?
In general, really.
I've probably seen like almost all of all of them. Yeah, like the Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. Definitely.
Was there ever one that was more? Did you?
I like television series like shows too.
Yeah.
So into those. Yep, I do the rounds on the movies and the TV shows.
So I was a DC guy growing up, and I have not watched much Marvel. I've watched Spider-Man because I always like Spider-Man, and I watched the Deadpools. I don't think I've watched much other. I did see the first Iron Man, and I think the first Captain America. But other than that, I haven't watched much. One that I keep getting recommended to me because I got this really cheap shirt at Walmart. It was an awesome Guardian of the Galaxy movie, or Guardian of the Galaxy t-shirt. And I have yet to watch them, and everybody's recommended them to me, and they're wanting me to watch it so bad. So I think I'm gonna sit down.
Got the shirt, but you haven't watched the movies.
Right.
It's like the same. It's like the same having a Metallica
People
shirt.
are like sitting there quoting lines from the movie. You're like, hey, what's up?
I'm like, hey, shirt, yeah, I like it. It was $3.
It's also funny, like
root. You're like, yeah, I like root beer too.
Right.
also so funny. Was at school, and someone had a Che Guevara logo on his t-shirt, a really big one, and the teacher brought him in front of the class, like, hey, do you know who's on the t-shirt? And said, yeah, that's Che Guevara. Do you know what he has done? No, and then he explained what he has done or for what he stands for and stuff. And he actually became more wise of it. It was not really scary what to knowledge, but it was like, okay, now you know what we selected. And also from that moment, I never will buy a t-shirt without with someone or a band on it, and I haven't listened to it or even haven't even heard of. Like, if an example, got a t-shirt of Scottie Pippen, but never heard of him. I then said, hey, it's Scottie Pippen. Ooh, yeah, then I was already feel like an asshole for not knowing it.
Right. And see, my thing was, it was a shirt with Groot on, and I know the characters. It was a shirt with Groot and Rocket Raccoon on it. And I played, Marvel vs. Capcom, so I know who Rocket Raccoon is.
You at least knew the characters.
But it's one of those things where I've finally I've gotten the plunge. I'm going to watch both of the Guardian of the Galaxies here coming up soon. So look forward to my intake on those. I don't know if you guys have watched them yet, but
I watched them both, I think.
I think I've seen all the Marvel movies. So yeah, there's some good ones in there. There's definitely some kind of ones in there.
So to watch Multiverse of Madness. Like a strange one.
I'm kind of surprised that I haven't watched the Guardian of the Galaxy, considering it has a WWE superstar in it.
It's a good one. I think it's got a little bit of your humor in it.
Right.
Type of funniness.
People have told me I'm kind of a Rocket Raccoon type.
I was just about to say that.
But yeah, so I will probably see next time you guys see me. I probably have watched them. Jurassic Park was a series that I always liked. Jurassic Park.
I think I halfway watched it. I fell asleep. I don't know what it is. I never should watch movies or shows late at night because I also fall asleep middle in it.
It took me like
Even
four.
I tried to.
I was gonna say it took me like 4 times watching the Avatar movie, not the Airbender, but the actual Avatar with James Caan, I think.
Yeah, the blue avatars.
Yeah, and apparently they're coming out with a second one. It took me like 4 times to watch
No,
it.
they're just maybe they're gonna bring out the first one again in theaters, and then
really?
I think James Cameron, based on that, if that sells very well, then I think maybe he'll consider making a new one. I think there's too much time in between.
Right.
And I don't even think. I think that's gonna flop. Like I would not pay to go see that.
And why would you go pay for the one that's already been out before?
I didn't pay to go see it the first time, so.
Right. Well, anyways, what about you, Fidget? Anything?
Let's see. I've seen all of the Star Wars, all of like the Lord of the Rings. I even have like the extended version of the Lord of the Rings on DVD. Loved Harry Potter.
That was another one. That's good.
I read all the books, watched all the movies. Never really got like super into like Twilight. Like I've watched all the movies, never read the books. Like a lot of my friends were like super into it, and I'm like, yeah, it is what it is, you know. I've seen a lot of like the Marvel movies and that's mainly because at the time I was dating someone who was, like, let's go see them. I've never seen the previous ones, so, we'd watch all, like, the previous ones. Mm-hmm. And then we'd go see that one, so I've seen a lot of the Marvel movies. Never really got into horror, and I think that's just mainly because, like, growing up, like, my parents, wouldn't allow us to watch them.
Oh, I definitely got into horror. Sorry to hear that you're sick, Yeet. That's too bad. I will say, Harry Potter, my brother read all the books and probably watched all the movies just like you. What was it? Oh, you said Twilight, and it reminded me of... I've only seen the very last Twilight movie, and it was because it was my senior year of high school. Me and this other guy, one of my friends at the time, we there was like 8 chicks that wanted to go to this Twilight movie, and they invited just me and him, and we're like, heck yeah, all these girls, like 4 apiece, whatever, we'll do this. And so we went to the Twilight movie. But what was funny is, like, they already pre-ordered their tickets, so when we had to go order our tickets, it was at the booth, and it was just me and him going to get the booth. And you have, like, all these couples going to get, like, tickets at the same time we were, and then there's just me and this guy going to get tickets at the same time.
That's not awkward.
So I thought that was funny. It's like, no, we have girls that are out there. They've already pre-ordered their tickets, I swear.
There's a couple of fanboys wanting to see some Edward.
Right, Team Edward. But yeah, that was the only one that I ever saw. But I thought that was a funny story. Our game is started, so I think we should probably wrap this up. I'm sure Dollar Bill's probably already watching it from there, huh?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you got me.
49ers.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun to hang out with everybody. It was really
for
cool
sure.
to get to know you guys. And
yeah, that's
obviously, I hope we won't be all strangers now. We'll, chit-chat it up.
Of course.
But yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on here. And
yeah, I was excited.
For sharing about yourselves. It was really fun.
I was excited to get to know more about you, Dollar Bill, because, like, other than this, we basically bonded over being Seahawks fans and basically just knowing each other through stream life, but now I feel like we know each other more in a personal state. And like we've got this streak of like texting each other every day lately, so hopefully we keep this streak going.
For sure.
But yeah, you guys have a good night.
Yes, I was gonna end it here. I'm
Yeah.
seriously go to sleep more to an early working day again. So
Yeah, Fidget's got to go to work here in a couple hours, and I'm sure me and
yes.
Dollar Bill will be talking about the game together.
Right.
But,
yeah. I got to do some